Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Jonathan Ellis, founder and managing director of Syndicates Capital. I am an angel investor turned VC, been full-time VC for about 9 years now. Super excited for today's panel on Chicago angel groups and syndicates, which I personally think are the best on-ramp into getting started and investing in startups, and it seemed like the last panel agrees, so we'll double click on that a little bit. Quick show of hands, how many of you are fairly new or entirely new to angel investing? Awesome. And how many of you have already invested via an angel group or syndicate? Great, okay, we've got a good mix, okay. I started actually investing through AngelList syndicates back in 2013, and then joined a group called Next Gen Angels and became Nameless Ventures in Chicago, and then started the fund. And so, you know, I do think this is a great on-ramp to, as we heard earlier, to sort of get started with these smaller checks and get learning. So today we have a few people. I'll let you introduce yourselves. Maria Chow from Kapwa Capital, unfortunately was unable to make it. So please check out Kapwa yourselves later. It's K-A-P-W-A. But in our place we have Christian from Lofty Syndicate. And Chris wanted me to be explicit, this is not an infomercial. But I do think everyone should be aware of all of these options. Okay, so yeah, please, one at a time, please introduce yourselves, your group, and its origin story.
Hey everyone, again, Christian at Lofty. So our Angel Syndicate, we probably do deals quarterly, I would say. But if you are an accredited investor, you can sign up and follow us on AngelList at any time. As Chris mentioned, the Lofty Angel site will, after this summit, be updated with resources that you can get. Some of that are in the packets at the front. But really our goal is to inform people so that they can feel confident in their decisions. You know, I wouldn't say a ton of deal flow, but a ton of information, and will grow over time. So, yeah.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Amy Rosenow. I'm the co-founder of Josephine Collective. We are, I mean, I really feel like you should be on first, because we basically, I wouldn't say we stole, because we took with blessing and permission the very cool legal structure that our friends at Chicago Early have designed, and so I'll let Brian explain that part to you. But we basically bring people, but mostly women, together to, we hope, do their first angel investments and come on board with us to do so. And so our typical member in a typical deal can put as little as $1,000 into each investment, which, much like the previous panel talked about, allows them to do more deals and diversify. And so I co-founded this with my partner Desiree Vargas-Rayleigh, and she is literally a force of nature, and I'm sure more than half of the room, if not all of you, know her. But basically she came to me, my background, I was the chief operating officer of a hedge fund. I had a startup that failed, story for another day, makes me a better investor. But I had done a bunch of angel investments while working at 1871 on my failed startup. But I had met all these interesting founders, and so I started putting money to work, and I was realizing, now that I don't work for a hedge fund anymore, it's a little harder to be continuously making these checks that don't come to fruition for like a decade or more, if ever. And so she came to this idea, and it's been nothing short of amazing. So I'm sure we'll get into it, but there you go.
Glad I put the lid on.
So I'm Brian, co-founder of Chicago Early Growth Ventures. My partner back there is Jeff. He's going to be going next, so I'm going to steal as much of his thunder as I can. Yeah, so groups basically identical to Josephine Collective. So in 2019, Jeff and I got together. I had been a startup attorney. You'll see my firm up here in a second. You'll go over to Eisenberg. I've been working in the startup space since 2013. Jeff was an operator. We met over at 1871. He was building a legal tech company. It just kind of was a natural fit, so we started working together. I went on to do my own law thing. He went on to be a founder. And we got back together in 2019 and decided, like, you know, I've seen a lot on the legal side. He's seen a lot on the operator side. But we wanted to kind of find a way to get together and start investing in these companies. We knew enough people, and we just wanted to support the industry that was supporting us. So coming at it from a different angle, being an investor is a totally different game. But I thought it would help me a lot really understand my clients, understand what they're going through, understand fundraising. Jeff had a network, Jeff understood the fundraising side and the founder side. So we got together, we didn't know if we'd have deal flow, we didn't know if we'd have investors, but our goal was to allow people to write small checks and not have the heavy weight of kind of managing a bunch of entities, because it was not gonna be a full-time job. We could not create a new entity for every single deal that we did. We'd have 100 entities that we'd have to manage every year. It would be like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, and it wasn't possible. So we came up with a structure where we are a single entity. We basically create new classes of units for every deal that we do. It's similar to an SVD from kind of everyone's perspective except ours. We do everything on the back end. We aggregate checks. We write a single check to the founders. No founder wants a bunch of $2,000 checks in their cap table. They want to deal with one point of contact. They want to deal with one investor. So we kind of solved for that. And we found out very quickly we had great deal flow. We had lots of people that wanted to do the same thing. So our minimums are $2,000 on most deals. Our check sizes are usually like $25,000 to $50,000. We've done as little as 10, as big as I think 160 or 170. But normally we're like 25 to 50. And because we've both kind of seen the pains of being angel investors from client side or an operator side, we try to be super lightweight and pain-free. We don't bombard founders with a million questions. We don't follow up 1,000 times. As Lisa said, we don't ask for information all the time. We just want it enough to keep our investors informed and let them know what's going on. So it's worked out well. We've done about 105 deals and a little over $4 million in 6 years, and still keep going.
That's awesome. And Brian, actually, how many angel investors have you now sort of on route? And same for you, Amy.
Yeah, we've had, I think about 160 people have written at least one check with us. Active on most deals, I'd say probably anywhere between like 50 and 60. We did learn, early on, people got really excited and wrote a couple checks and then just tailed off, and it wasn't for them, and that's totally fine. It doesn't really add a bunch of expense for us to have them, and we'd rather have them, dip their toe and be a part of it than not.
Yeah, we're a little bit younger, so we've been up and running for about 3 years now. We've done 46 deals, $1.25 million roughly, and we are just in the ballpark of 100. We got close enough, we had to start another entity. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So you're probably a little bit biased, but to your angel members in your syndicates, what are the pros and cons of investing via you versus the alternatives out there?
I'll go first. There's no way to functionally angel invest unless it's like literally your best friend, unless you're putting at least $10,000 to work in a deal direct. Like there's the crowdfunding stuff and whatever I'm going to put in like its own category, because that tends to have just be a separate thing. And so to me this is like the best of both worlds. You're getting to place more bets so they're more diversified. Because it's a smaller check size, you can not be as worried if you can't like go to the ends of the earth for due diligence, because you can't. You get to do it with friends and peers and networking and education. So we recognize if you haven't written an angel check before, you probably don't know how it works. And you definitely, unless you're a lawyer or an accountant, have not thought of things like, what's a K1? And my taxes might be delayed, and like a bunch of things that like it's much more user-friendly for someone to like sit you down and explain to you. So we try to make it like kinder, gentler, more user-friendly, judgment-free. But to me, the kicker is just like much, much, much smaller check size, but still getting to like learn how to do it.
Yeah, I would say, I don't want to repeat everything Chris said, but super preferred terms, right? If you're a founder, you can write a 1K check with us. And I would say kind of the education and development, you don't have to exclusively work with us. I would say it's a village community style, but our lunch and learns, our programming, I think that's a lot of like added benefit not all syndicates have. So you can have those conversations early. You're just learning, you don't have confidence in yourself, like there's no dumb question. I think Lofty got first step.
Yeah, it can be like a kind of scary, unapproachable space if you don't have like a community to do this with. So, looking around the room, there's like at least 6 or 7 people I think that have written a check with us. I'm like, that's nice. They know each other. We kind of build that community and it grows from there. So that to me is one huge benefit. The other one is obviously just dipping your toe in, figuring it out. Like if you say you're interested, we just add you to our list. You can start to see deal flow. You can start to see all the pitches that we do. You can start to hear the questions that are asked. We don't know everything, right? So like we might miss stuff, we might misinterpret things, but you can at least hear pitches. You can hear from founders. We've probably done 500 pitches by now, and if you listen to every single one of them, you know about as much as we do about angel investing. So it's just an easy way to like get in, start to learn. It's no commitment, so you know if you don't want to invest in any of the deals, you don't have to. So I just think it's a very easy way to kind of get into this, and you get to pick the deals you like. So I wouldn't necessarily advocate for trying to pick only winners. Like it's better to do small checks and spread it out, but you do get used to picking. You don't have to do every deal. You can do every third deal if you really like it. So you know, picking is hard, but you can start to test your skills with, you know, relatively small checks and see how you like it.
How do you think about your deal flow, and you know, what does deal flow look like for your groups right now?
No shortage of it. You know, candidly, like it's definitely an investor's market in my view. There are a lot of companies looking for funding and not a lot of people writing checks, especially at the stage that we all invest in. Raising your first million, I can't remember who said it, but that first, like the first check, the first two, yeah, I think it was in LA. So like that first check is hard to find, and even if it's $1 million, or if you're raising $1 million and you get 250, it's still kind of hard to find that other 750. So it's just tough, and it's kind of an investor market, and for that reason, there's no shortage of good companies out there looking for funding at reasonable pricing. So we're looking at deal flow, like every deal we consider from, I don't know, cold outreach to anyone that is like referred to us. We are more likely to talk to companies that refer to us honestly, and we're more likely to follow people like Lofty and Long Jump and some of the other players that write bigger checks and do a little bit more diligence. We don't really turn people away without at least considering them, because you never know what you're gonna miss. But there is no shortage of deal flow, and it is a challenge to sort of throw it out and say.
Okay, great.
Can you maybe share a little bit then, yeah, how you actually practically do filter through that deal flow in terms of sort of screening and diligence, and perhaps if you leverage your sort of members' expertise on networks, how do you do that to sort of help, you know, qualify and de-risk investing?
I'm the filtration process for Lofty. So I would just say, you know, it is a challenge. You know, I think we're a community that we like to work with people who aren't jerks, right? Givers. So that is a filter that we use. So if we have people that advocate for them, that definitely helps. But yeah, it is a challenge. I would say we see a lot more deals than we can find investors for.
Yeah, we ended up setting up an investment committee. We have an open application process. We definitely, similar to what Brian mentioned, like we give extra attention to referred deals, but everyone who applies gets an actual, you know, set of humans looking at them. But it's super overwhelming, and yet we feel like one person's not usually enough. Like that there's I don't know, there's sort of a magic to like having a different lens of all the people who are looking at it. So we sort of have set it up an Airtable. Everyone on the investment committee goes in, reviews the deal. I will spend anywhere from 10 seconds to 5 minutes on the first look through to determine whether we want to invite them. It's either we kill, ask them to send us a video, or invite them to Zoom pitch. That's kind of our three main outcomes. But it is really overwhelming. Like there are some weekends I open up my Airtable and I'm like, oh my God. But I also feel like that's the awesomeness. Like they might not all come from someone in our network, and I really think it's like a good thing for the like almost the universe to open it up really wide so that someone who has no connections really can apply, and so that's been working for us.
Yeah, one of the best things we figured out was universities are willing to give free students. So every quarter we have like 4 students in Kellogg that help us look at deals, review them, organize them, sort through them. And then every Friday morning for about an hour and a half, we meet to go through kind of whatever's in our first stage in our Airtable. So to review, right, we created a page where people can go load their information, load a deck, we sort through the deck. Sometimes we spend a minute on it, sometimes we spend 5-10 minutes on it, but we scroll through the deck, we talk about it amongst ourselves, think about if we like it or not, and then we do the same thing. We move, that's something we stole from them, they gave us their table, and we copied it. But we basically try to decide, fortunately, just based on looking at the deck, we try to decide if we want to learn more, if we have follow-up questions, if it's a no, or if we just want to move them to pitch. And if we move to the pitch, we reach out, record a Zoom, if that goes well, we share it with the group, and then we we're crowdsourced, really. If we say we want to do a deal, if no one commits, we don't do the deal. And if a bunch of people commit and we have enough to write a check and the company wants the check, we do the deal. So, we don't tell people they should invest. We don't say we love this one, we hate that one. We will not share anything that we will not personally invest in. So if we like it enough to say we will put our money in, we'll share it with our group, and if we get enough commitments, we write the check.
Roughly what percentage of what you see, makes it to each stage? I mean, Chris's rule of thumb, I think, was, invest in the best 10% of what you see, but how does that work out for you guys?
Well, I would say if you take out the just stone cold outreach that we get through the website, which a lot of that is just not even necessarily worth looking at. If you look at the stuff that either we invited someone to add, or they're serious and at a stage where they're actually ready to accept investment, I would say 10% might be right. We probably do, of every 5 to 8 pitches we do, we're probably writing 1 or so checks. Higher, 10, 1 out, maybe 10%. I think that's a long way of saying I think 10%. That's the numbers.
I feel like 10% is probably the answer, but only from that late stage, like of the ones that we invite to Zoom.
Yeah.
So if we take like the funnel up here, I don't know, that number's like 1 in 100 or 1,000, I don't even know. And again, if we like take out the complete, not remotely venture-ish, so yeah.
Say about the same.
Great. And so
just, sorry, everybody talked about AI earlier. Are you utilizing it at all in your screening processes?
No, but
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think we're there. I think it's just a disservice. I don't know, if you want to cut out big companies that, AI just writes off. Like, I don't know that I trust it to tell me who to invest in, and we don't know, no one knows. So, no, and I think we're probably a long way off. And maybe to help sort stuff and kind of keep track of everything, maybe, but to evaluate deals, I think we're a long way away from that.
Thank you.
Like, I'd love to see it do things in our pipeline, like,
Move this from here.
or just the stuff that's just, they're looking for grant funding, even though it says on 20 places on the application, we do not give grant funding. They're not located in the US, so probably didn't give you
They're not located in the US, there's like a few criteria that were like, no, like that would be cool, but the downside of like especially our version of Syndicate is scrappy. Like our members pay $250 a year to be members, and that pays for like the accounting and the Airtable and the email accounts. There's like not a ton left over, so it sort of goes with the territory of we're not like building beautiful tools.
on our side, we are using it, trying to do more and more, but not to automate decisions or anything, but getting smarter on a space quicker, maybe doing more research on the team quicker. So there's some heavy lifting that can be done, but there's all sorts of tools helping with deal flow now as well. And I think a lot of the things they're trying to assign scores and ratings to things that very early on, I don't buy that, because it's so subjective, and it's talking to the founders and things where you tease out little insights that you wouldn't otherwise get through AI.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So how much time do your members sort of put into the process with each of your syndicates?
I think it really varies. In my hedge fund days, we had a saying, which I think is useful, which is there's no called strikes in investing. So you're busy that week, you don't have time to look at deals, or you look at them and like, it just doesn't like capture your fancy, like, it's okay, so you're not gonna do those, and it's not like you can't like miss the opportunity, but I think people can spend as much or as little time as they want, and that can be seasons of your life, that can be seasons of your cash flow, that could be, you know, whatever the case may be. So all we ask of our members is that they commit to being with us for the long term. It's not that helpful to us if people take up one of our precious 99 slots in the legal structure to do one deal and then we never see them again. But whether they, and we ask people to do $3,000 of deals per year, whether that's one deal, 3 deals, whatever. But like, that's a reasonably low commitment, and so it's all over the place. Like, I think we were just looking at our most active members, and so I think 30 people make up our busiest, like our most active members, but we've got another 60-something that still are doing it.
Yeah, same. We share everything with anyone that's on our list. Some people just put their finger in the wind and go in on a deal. Some people go in on every deal regardless of doing any diligence. Some people look very closely at what we send and provide comments and feedback. Part of the benefit is you just kind of make it what you want. If you just want to trust us and do every deal that we do, that's great. If you want to really dive in and ask deep questions and really think hard about an industry, or you know an industry really well, you can do that too. And we try to be reasonable. We'll pass questions along and we'll interact with the founders and get answers too.
I would say we always do a live pitch with our founders, and I would say a lot of commitments come out of that live pitch. And the deal memo is available on AngelList prior to that, so I can't say how many minutes or hours we're spending, but I think like it's that live pitch with the founder where they really make their decision. So however long that lasts is probably where they spend the most of their time.
That's great. Do you do anything to help with education for your members or even yourselves in terms of angel investing, right? There's a lot of things that keep changing, you have to keep up with.
Want to be a broken record? We have a ton of resources available on our website, and so yeah.
That's an infomercial.
Yeah, we do some member education events. My day job is as a financial planner, so I feel like some of the trends that I need to keep up sort of work for both. And then we partner with folks like River and have them help us do educational events as well.
Yeah, so day job also helps a lot. Being in the startup space, practicing on the legal side of it, I've seen trends come and go, and I've seen things evolve, and I've seen things become important. So for personally, I've kind of just naturally been able to keep up and see things change. In terms of our members, everyone's accredited, so we kind of trust they have an idea of what they're doing, and if people ask questions, we'll help and we'll answer. And we're approachable, like anyone can get to us, anyone can talk to us. But while we did it first, they do it better because they do have events for their members, and they're part of, I think, what Justin Collective offers is like the education piece. I think we do more of that. But we're here and we're available, but we don't have any formal programming.
Awesome. So speaking of education and lessons, you've all sort of been at this a while now. Any sort of big lessons you've learned, I guess good or bad, through your investing experiences so far that others in the room can learn from?
We don't really know anything. This is what I've done. I just like doing talks like this and talking to people in the space and being on the legal side of it and having our deal meetings. Like, I feel like what I think about this whole industry changes almost daily. We got into it, I thought every company would be a home run and would be like $1 billion exit, and it would happen in like 3 to 5 years. That's not literally, but pretty close to what I thought when we started this. And like over time, it's just evolved. I realized every company's not a venture company or venture backable. I realized every company's not going to be a $100 million exit. I realized it takes 10 years. I realized AI's now here. We can't predict the next thing that's going to happen is going to disrupt all this. So one of the best performing companies we have, this is my favorite part of it, is like a shoe insoles company. Like nothing I would have ever imagined. Like, I didn't get into ventures thinking that. I think we invested like an $8 million valuation. They had like 32 million in sales last year or something. Like wild. One of our best companies we have. So we don't really have a thesis for that reason. We stay open. We will look at any industry. We do not know what will be a home run, we do not know what will fail, but now that we have 100 whatever deals under our belt, we can look back and say, like, that's not one I expected, or that's one I really expected, or we thought maybe that might fail. So, there's you gotta stay open-minded. As much, we live in a world where you think you have to be certain about everything, and there's just zero certainty in this space. I don't know if you're gonna tell the story, but one of the other companies we invested in, they were doing great, they had a couple million in sales, they just tried to raise a bigger amount of money at the exact wrong time at the beginning of COVID. That was it, they died. Like, had they had enough money, or raised at a different time, or tried a different approach, they would have survived, but it just didn't work out as bad timing, they died. So, I just don't think there's any certainty. I think that's the fun of it. But it's also something you have to understand if you're getting into angel investing. You're not going to be able to pick all the winners and only the winners, and diversification is the best possible defense against that, I think.
Yeah, that's so well said. So I've done a bunch of angel deals on my own. I've also done all 46 of the Josephine deals because there's no way to know upfront which are gonna be the winners. I will definitely shoot myself if, I pick the 40 and one of the 6 is like the first one to exit.
Or all.
Yeah, I literally, I cannot handle that. So, every deal I'm in, and not only am I invested, through Josephine, through Chicago Early, I'm also in a couple of the local venture firms. And so the biggest exit, on a look-through basis, for any of the firms I'm invested in was freaking kitty litter. So 100%, and that was through a venture firm, not a direct angel. But if you had said to me, of all the things you've invested in, what are the best 2 investments? Like Citadel, okay, that one I would have probably predicted. But kitty litter? No, not on my list. So I think keeping an open mind and not getting too precious about where you think your expertise is probably how I would counsel you.
I personally am new, early on my angel investing, journeys. I would, what Brian said, ditto.
Jonathan, look, this is an important point that I want to highlight that Brian said, which is you can start in a category that you know well. Like you heard some of the founders saying, I stick to what I know. And allow yourself over time to evolve. You don't have to, but allow yourself to. Because I used to say I don't do fintech and I don't do biotech. Then I ended up investing in a company that 3D prints bone material, and I became a board member of a fintech company that Jonathan introduced me to, and they were crushing it. So that was actually our last syndicate. So now our thesis used to be blah, 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 and now it's like Chicago is our filter. If we don't get it from Chicago, then it needs to come through some kind of an intro, and we're agnostic as long as it's venture scale. So kitty litter, cool, but probably not a kitty litter mom and pop what are those where you franchise? Franchise not things that we typically invest in, but venture scale, Lofty is agnostic if it's Chicago. When we're not really looking right now.
And I think as well, the benefit of your models, you have this member base, and so as you get more community and more trust of each other, more you can invest because so and so said it was good, even though you have no idea about the space, right? So
I have to be able to get my brain around it though. If I literally, some of the Web3 stuff, I'm I literally can't tell if this is a made up business model or not. So to me, the one requirement is I have to be able to visualize one or more ways that this could become a revenue generating business within a decade.
So you both, I think all of you actually sort of went positive spins on learnings with your successes, but I'm going to double click on, you can obviously leave names out if you like, but any just disasters where you're wow, major learning, we'll look for that in the future, and some of it obviously idiosyncratic, you just don't know what you don't know, but any lessons that the people starting angel investing can do to avoid avoidable mistakes?
I would say the biggest I think the most dangerous ground for mistakes actually tends to be when you're going direct and a friend or someone that you know personally, especially if you have, this is not going to be a big issue in the couple $1,000 syndicate type of investments, but when you start having people that let's say, God willing, that
multiple founders in this room have a big exit and now have like serious cash to put in, and like everyone who's ever met you in your whole life is now pitching their startup to you and want like 50 grand. I think that can be the biggest challenge, is separating like your personal affection for someone from the business. And I would say, if I like had a do-over on some things, like on the one hand, I'm like, I did learn from these things, but I think I probably would have sized down or refused to meet the minimum on some of these ones where it was probably like a little too close to the personal front and not enough of a compelling investment opportunity if I had just like put a barrier between myself and the person.
So I got into venture in 2012 when I was hired to help open 1871 with Melissa Bagdez, one of the founding team members. And I remember walking in there, and I remember talking to every founder, and everyone is so convincing. They talk about how their idea is going to be life-changing, and I believed every single person for like the first 50 people. And then I realized like everyone's not going to change the world. So I started scaling back and like tempering my expectations. And I think what ultimately we learned is that like you got to be okay with the possibility that you pass on someone that could be a home run. Like we don't know what we're doing, so sorry, take that back. We know what we're doing, but we don't know the future, right? So if we talk to a company and they sound super compelling and you think they're going to be a home run, but there was something off about it, or you just didn't like feel it. Like there's something about like the pitch with the founder that just didn't sit with you the right way. I would say there's a couple companies we invested in that we had that feeling after the meeting, but the pitch was strong and the company seemed strong. And I think in the couple of events that has happened, we've looked back and probably wish we didn't do it. And so over time, we've kind of evolved our thinking. I think, my informal mantra is like, we have enough deal flow, it's okay if we pass on this. And once we kind of learned that and settled in with the idea that we could miss out on winners, but we also could be passing on losers, which is great. Like you just gotta be comfortable that you're not gonna get every single one to be a home run. Once you do, then I think you just trust your gut. Like, if there's anything off about it, you are investing in the founder. I think Cheryl was saying that before, right? You're investing in the founder, and if the company sounds great and the founder just doesn't feel right, I think you can pass.
Yeah, our version of that has become, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
And to double click on what Brian was saying about like, if something feels off, additionally, like if all your friends are investing or there's some famous person on the cap table, do not do it only for that. I think people fall for that trap sometimes, and I just want to be wary. I was at a venture fund before, I was at Lofty, and there were so many people that would just be like, oh my gosh, on the cap table, we're not going to do diligence, we're just going to invest. And like, that's not the way to go about this, so just want to throw that out there.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have about 10 minutes left for questions. Before we do that, so appreciate what you're doing for the ecosystem and getting more and more people involved. I started the fund because there wasn't enough early stage capital in Chicago 9 years ago. That's still true. Not enough angels, still true. So it's great. Do you just want to share again one more time how to get involved with the groups, and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, you can go on lofty.com or loftyangels.com and join our email list.
LoftyVentures.com.
Oh, Lofty
I
Ventures.
wish I had Lofty.com.
For us, it's joinjosephine.com.
For us, I think you just email either me or Jeff.
Contact us page.
Yeah, do that. The website chicagoearly.com, but my email's Brian at Chicago Early, he's Jeffrey at Chicago Early. If you're interested, please in the subject say, saw you at Lofty Angels interested, then maybe we'll actually open the email.
That was so honest. Okay, so any questions in the audience? At the back there.
So I'm an investor in both Josephine and Lofty, and it's been great. And Brian, hopefully I'll get into Chicago early here too. My one thing with syndicates I've found, I've talked to Chris about this also, is that I found it to be very sporadic in terms of investor updates. I make an investment and then you don't hear anything for a year on the company. And so if there's some way that you can let the investors know, again, maybe on a quarterly basis or something, what's going on with the investment, and maybe maybe you do that on all investments, but I just found that's something that's missing from some of the syndicates that I've gotten involved in. I'm just interested in your comments.
Critical feedback.
Yeah, so, hi Randy, thank you. I would say this is something we struggle with because on the one hand, we want to be user-friendly to our founders because we know we're often their smallest check, we are term taker, we try to leave them alone. And so in theory, they're sending us their regular investor communication, which is in theory on a monthly or quarterly basis. And we've asked them when they apply to check off that they'll give us information at least twice a year, including the one ask that we have of them is to fill out our information request for our year in review presentation that we do in each, typically January, early February. And then that's where we don't have, we gotta get the intern thing that you're talking about, I think, because I have a day job and a nonprofit board position and whatever. I don't have time to look at all 46 of our companies and make sure that they all send us their updates on time and then chase them down and then deliver them. So right now we're passive. When we get something from the company, we have one of our volunteers is the director of founder relations. She pushes it out to the people who are on that deal. She pushes it out BCC. So 90% of the time, I think it goes into people's junk folder, which is not helping our case. So, yeah, it's not easy. And I think if you're coming into I'm not sure how, you guys seem like you have it more together, so I'm gonna point in this direction. I think one of the things you have to know is it's not gonna be as polished and as robust as some of the bigger platforms that cost you more. But hopefully that's part of our charm and also we'll
I'll just add to that, not every investment check gets you information rights, and then even if it does, not every founder will give you information. This is just a quirk of the industry. Unlike public companies, SEC is involved, everyone absolutely does that. And so you are as much underwriting the founders, relationship with you as an investor, if they will actually provide anything. And frankly, if you as a group are not adding any value, the information disappears faster than if you are being helpful, because then they just sort of give and get a little bit. So sometimes it's transactional, sometimes they're super disciplined every month or every quarter they'll send something out. So it's usually not actually the syndicate's issue, it's at the founder level sometimes. Jeff?
I guess mine's kind of a statement and then a question. Playing on some of the things we've talked about, I think Chris mentioned on knowledge in your space and where you would invest as an angel investor. One potential angel trap I've seen over the last 10 years of angel investing is people thinking that the best place to invest is their own vertical. And the only thing I'll put out is that one of the things I learned, and everybody learns different things, is that sometimes people make the worst angel investors in their own vertical because you're the most skeptical and you're the most risk averse. I came from fintech and looked elsewhere. Curious what you guys have had as takeaways with that kind of thought, because on the one side you want knowledge, on the other hand people get very safe, maybe too safe in their own space.
I think that's very true. And I think it's true both in terms of where you have expertise and there's also almost a personality type. One of the things that I think is most amazing about Desiree is Desiree sees the vast, amazing possibilities in a company, and my go-to thought is what could go wrong. And so I have to train myself every time I look at a deal to be no, pause. How big could this be if everything goes right? And I think I do that regardless of the vertical, but I think people have that tendency even more in it. So I think being willing to go outside of your vertical, and also if you're, depending on, because I think people have a go-to on one side of that spectrum or the other, everything's what could be amazing and what could be bad, to train yourself to play the other side of that coin when you're deciding what to invest in.
Yeah, this is why I think doing this sort of stuff just evolves you as a person. I used to think that's probably better to just do something that you know, and you just gotta accept your experience is singular. So even if you know something really well, I'm a lawyer, we look at legal tech stuff, and it's very easy for me to say, no, I would never use this, my firm would never buy this. But we are not a big firm, we're not a small firm, And I am in one practice group out of several, right? So it's hard to check that. It's hard to say, like, no, this will never work because I will not use it in my practice at my firm. It is easy for me to say I don't think that it's likely to be adopted widespread across the legal field, but I also have to check that too. So I would actually just rather not even look at it because it is very easy to be skeptical about it. I don't know that we've done many legal tech deals, probably because I shoot it down immediately every single time. I'm still working on myself on that. But yeah, I think you're way open-minded. You're so much more open-minded when you hear a founder in an industry that knows it way better than you explain their thoughts, their feelings about it. It's easier to be convinced. It's easier to accept that you might not know everything. There's been a lot of companies that we've invested in that we got off the call and said, like, I don't really know this industry. I don't know, but if it all goes well, like, this could be huge, right? And that, to me, you are blocked, I think. The more you know, the more you're kind of just blocked from being open-minded to that, so I'd rather look outside of what I know.
Great. Landon?
So this meeting's kind of more transitioning from an operator to an investor conversation, right? And maybe this is just my personal desire to hear some therapy. What is the hardest part of leading a syndicate, or the worst part of leading a syndicate? You're founders in the investment world, right? So.
I mean, it's just the time, honestly. Your question in the back was great, right? Like, you want updates. I totally get that. We've got 100 companies in the portfolio. Finding time to chase all the founders that don't provide updates and send them to our investors, and then find new companies and source new deals, and then due diligence, and then send it out and collect money, and just like all the stuff on the back end. It takes a lot of time. Copying their A-table, we used to do it on like spreadsheets and emails, and it was miserable. And then we used their A-table, changed everything, and then we got a bunch of free labor from the universities, and that changed everything too. So now it works a lot better, like it's way more professionalized, but it still is just a lot of time. And I have a full-time job, Jeff has a full-time job. Like, we don't have 20 hours a week to do this. And if we really, really wanted to like nail it and provide everything that everybody wants all the time, we would have to quit our jobs. So that's a hard thing, and then we also, because of that, we are limited in all the deals that we could really look deeply at. And I'm sure we have passed on good companies because we just didn't give it enough time. I would love to give each company more time, but that in and of itself is like every single day it would take to evaluate the companies that came in that day. I have 100 emails every day from companies looking for money. So just time.
Yeah, it's a very robust side hustle. And that you're like, well, if I want to spend more time on this, I could launch a venture firm, which Desiree did, and you should all look at it. It's called Velocity, and she's amazing. But for me, I don't want to quit my day job and start a venture firm. And so there's some sort of acknowledgement, which is hard for us perfectionist-y types, that like, this isn't going to be done amazingly with like cutting edge technology and super fast reply times to everything and all the things. And I guess it's, you know, somewhat of a good life lesson, like, that's okay too, I think.
Okay, you've got time for one or two more. Jose?
Yep.
Okay.
No, all good. I had two questions. One is, what benchmarks or metrics are you guys using to see if you're doing angel investing, if you could be the best angel investor you can be? And then I want to ask Amy also, like, how do you think, like you said you invested in hedge funds before, like, how do you compare your experience investing in hedge funds versus angel, and why do you dedicate your time to angel versus not hedge funds?
Okay, so the second question was hedge funds versus angel investing, and then the first one was how do we benchmark ourselves? So benchmark ourselves, I mean, predominantly we don't. I mean, I guess, you know, we've had 1 out of 46 has gone out of business, the rest of them are alive, so I think that's probably pretty good for the last couple of years. We have not had any, you know, like, we do not spend a lot of time like looking at their current valuation and trying to come up with multiples and whatever. Like, I don't know, and we get the interns, like, I think maybe that could be a project, but I sort of view it as like a nice to have and not something we're focused on. We're not gonna market a track record because we're not an investment advisor. That's like one of the key things of at least our syndicate model is we are presenting things to the group, and as Brian said, if we get enough people to meet the founder's minimum, we invest, and if we don't, we don't. And so It's like, to me, yes, like we could do that, but like if you're not gonna use a tracker for anything, I'm like, next on my fish to fry list. And then in terms of hedge funds versus venture. So I still invest in both. Hedge funds are not liquid like a mutual fund, but they're much more liquid than venture or angel investments. And I think they're both interesting, but like what I would say, putting on my like day job financial planner hat, is it should not be confused. Like angel investing is like investing 301, 401. It's not 101, 201. Like we want founders to invest in whatever, but like we also want you to like have retirement savings and whatever that like, go into the category of like the Maslow's hierarchy of investment needs. And so I think understanding where this is within your overall financial picture and making sure that you've got the basics covered and that this is like, a little piece on the margin as you build is probably also important to point out.
Yeah, the one last thing I'll add to that is, we didn't at first, we started to build out kind of at least some sort of, a chart to see where kind of investments are. One of the struggles I think is, angel investing is just a long cycle, and so to keep people kind of interested and invested, it's easy to go in your 401k and see it's up $1,000 or down $1,000, but you kind of have like no idea where your angel investment is. So we have started to track kind of like latest round valuations so we can show, hey, you invest in these 20 companies and 2 are out of business and 10 are kind of stagnant or whatever, new and we don't have updates, and these 8 are up because of their latest valuation. It's all on paper, it doesn't become real until there's an exit event, but it's at least engaging so people can kind of see, am I picking good companies or bad companies, or where are they? It's tough because it's private information, so you can't like benchmark against other public companies, but we try to do some things so that people can have some idea of like where their portfolio is.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got time for. Please, round of applause for the panel.